Victoria Principal, the star of Dallas and a Hollywood icon, has lived a life in the spotlight, often surrounded by legends. Among those legends was Paul Newman, the actor whose charm, talent, and larger-than-life persona captured hearts worldwide. For decades, fans speculated about the relationship between Principal and Newman, curious about the bond that existed beyond the cameras. Now, at 75, Victoria Principal has finally opened up, offering insight into one of Hollywood's most storied actors and the personal impact he had on her life. In an exclusive reflection, Principal recalls a man who was both inspiring and enigmatic. Newman was a figure of immense talent, generosity, and complexity. Behind his iconic blue eyes and magnetic presence lay layers of kindness, intelligence, and an almost palpable charisma. Yet he was also human, flawed, private, and sometimes misunderstood. Principal's reflections reveal a side of Newman that fans rarely saw, showing how his influence extended beyond fame and accolades into personal mentorship, friendship, and shared experiences that shaped her own journey in Hollywood. This candid revelation is more than nostalgia. It is an intimate account of admiration, respect, and the realities of working alongside someone whose reputation for perfection was matched by a genuine concern for those around him. Victoria Principal's story offers a rare glimpse into Paul Newman, not just as a legendary actor, but as a man whose presence left a lasting impression on her life. Victoria Principal's rise to fame was marked by her role as Pamela Barnes on Dallas, where she quickly became a household name. Yet, behind the scenes, Hollywood was a labyrinth of personalities, egos, and expectations. Among the figures she encountered during this time, Paul Newman stood out, not only for his talent but for his humanity. Principal describes Newman as someone who carried himself with a quiet confidence, a balance of charisma and humility that drew people toward him effortlessly. Working alongside Newman, Principal noticed a subtle but profound influence. He had a way of encouraging those around him to give their best, not through intimidation but through example and quiet mentorship. Newman was exacting in his craft, yet he treated colleagues with respect, listening, guiding, and offering advice without condescension. For Victoria Principal, this approach was both enlightening and motivating. She observed how his professionalism elevated those who worked with him, and how his integrity left a lasting mark on a competitive industry. Beyond the professional realm, Principal reflects on Newman's personal warmth. Despite his fame, he was generous with his time and attention, particularly toward those who were younger or navigating the complexities of Hollywood. He could be charming and witty, yet never in a way that overshadowed others. Principal recalls moments when Newman's insight and presence brought reassurance and perspective, helping her navigate challenges with grace. These personal interactions revealed a man whose public persona was only a fragment of the depth within. Principal is candid about the misconceptions that often surrounded Newman. Many assumed his charm was superficial, his fame blinding, or his demeanor untouchable. Yet, she emphasizes that his kindness was authentic and consistent, extending beyond the cameras, the scripts, and the glamour. He was a man of principle who valued honesty, respect, and human connection, a combination that left a deep impression on Principal, shaping her understanding of what it meant to succeed in Hollywood without losing one's sense of self. Reflecting now, at 75, Principal acknowledges that speaking about Newman carries both fondness and reverence. The years have provided clarity, allowing her to appreciate the subtle ways he influenced her career and personal growth. She describes him as a mentor and friend whose guidance went beyond professional advice, encompassing lessons in character, patience, and integrity. Principal's reflections portray Newman not as a distant icon, but as someone deeply human, whose legacy extends far beyond his cinematic achievements. This revelation also highlights the broader impact of positive mentorship in Hollywood, an industry often criticized for its competitiveness and ruthless ambition. Newman's influence exemplifies how respect, encouragement, and authenticity can shape careers and lives, leaving a lasting impression on those fortunate enough to work alongside him. Principal's story is a reminder that the greatest figures in Hollywood are not only measured by their talent on screen, but by the integrity and kindness they bring to their relationships off camera. Ultimately, Victoria Principal's reflections serve as both a tribute and a personal revelation. She speaks with admiration, gratitude, and a nuanced understanding of Newman's character, offering fans a rare glimpse of the man behind the legend. At 75, Principal is unafraid to share these memories, revealing not only the impact Newman had on her life, but also the enduring lessons in professionalism, humanity, and humility that he imparted for audiences. The story is more than nostalgia. It is a window into the ways that kindness and mentorship can leave a lasting mark. Paul Newman, through his talent and character, shaped not only cinema but the people around him. And Victoria Principal's candid recollections preserve that legacy, reminding the world of the man behind the fame. Victoria Principal's career soared in the 1970s and 80s with her iconic role as Pamela Barnes on Dallas. Yet, behind the glitz and glamour, Hollywood was a world of intense competition, larger-than-life personalities and high expectations. It was in this environment that she first crossed paths with Paul Newman, a man whose presence was felt both on and off the set. From the very beginning, Newman stood out not for his fame or accolades, but for the calm, confident way he navigated the industry. Principal recalls that Newman had a charisma that wasn't ostentatious. He carried himself with quiet authority and an ease that drew people toward him naturally. On set, he was observant, patient, and precise in his craft. But it wasn't just his talent that left an impression. It was his humanity. Unlike many in Hollywood, Newman treated colleagues with respect, regardless of their status or experience. He offered guidance and encouragement without condescension, creating an environment where professionalism and creativity thrived. Victoria Principal remembers watching him in action, learning from his example. He would provide subtle mentorship, offering advice when asked and leading by example when not. His presence was grounding, reminding everyone that excellence required dedication, discipline, and humility. For Principal, these early interactions were formative, shaping her understanding of what it meant to succeed without losing one's integrity. Beyond work, Newman's warmth and generosity left a lasting mark. He took time to connect with those around him, offering reassurance and perspective in moments of stress or uncertainty. Principal recalls instances where his kindness made difficult days manageable, teaching her that fame did not absolve one of decency. Even then, Principal noticed the misconceptions that surrounded Newman. Many assumed his charm and fame masked arrogance or superficiality. But she quickly realized the opposite. His kindness and professionalism were consistent, authentic, and intentional. These early lessons would influence her not only as an actress but as a person navigating life in the public eye. Meeting Paul Newman wasn't just a brush with stardom. It was an encounter that taught Principal the importance of character, respect, and mentorship in a world often dominated by ego. For her, Newman was not only a legend of cinema, but a model of how one could combine talent with integrity. Years later, at 75, Victoria Principal reflects candidly on her experiences with Paul Newman. Time has given her clarity, allowing her to appreciate the subtle but profound ways he shaped her career and perspective. Beyond the public persona, Newman's impact was deeply personal. He offered guidance, encouragement, and insights that extended far beyond the technical aspects of acting. Principal describes him as someone who elevated those around him, simply through presence and example. His advice was never imposing. It was earned through observation, patience, and empathy. For younger actors navigating the pressures of Hollywood, this mentorship was invaluable. Newman demonstrated that success was not just about talent, but about professionalism, humility, and respect for colleagues. She also recalls Newman's generosity off-screen. Despite his immense fame, he was approachable and authentic, always willing to engage in meaningful conversation and offer support. Principal's memories paint a portrait of a man who understood the responsibilities that came with influence and used his position to foster growth, rather than ego. This perspective allowed Principal to navigate Hollywood's complexities with greater confidence and grace. She credits Newman with teaching her the importance of balance, pursuing ambition while remaining grounded, striving for excellence while valuing humanity, and embracing opportunity without compromising principles. In Speaking Openly Now, Principal challenges misconceptions about Newman, revealing a side rarely seen by the public. He was more than a celebrated actor. He was a mentor, a friend, and a man of character whose influence shaped the people around him as much as his performances shaped cinema. Principal's reflections underscore a broader truth about mentorship and integrity in Hollywood. Fame and talent may capture attention, but character leaves a lasting legacy. Newman's influence was profound, and Principal's willingness to speak about it ensures that this legacy is... Even off-screen, Newman was remarkable. Despite immense fame, he remained approachable and genuine. Principal recalls moments of casual conversation that carried lessons in character, patience, and professionalism. His influence extended quietly, shaping the careers and confidence of those fortunate enough to work alongside him. Principal also addresses the public misconceptions surrounding Newman. Many saw him only as a charming, magnetic figure, unaware of the depth of his kindness and authenticity. She emphasizes that his integrity was consistent, reflecting a man whose personal values matched his public persona. This authenticity shaped her own approach to fame and career, teaching her the importance of balance, pursuing ambition while staying grounded. Reflecting now, Principal expresses admiration and gratitude. Newman was more than a co-star. He was a mentor and friend whose presence offered clarity and perspective. Her candid recollections provide audiences with a rare glimpse of the man behind the legend, showing that true greatness encompasses both skill and heart. Through her reflections, Principal highlights the importance of mentorship, integrity, and generosity in Hollywood. Fame and talent capture attention, but character leaves a lasting legacy. Newman's influence on her life demonstrates that the lessons learned from extraordinary individuals can resonate long after the cameras stop rolling. Ultimately, Victoria Principal's story is a tribute to both her own growth and Newman's enduring impact. At 75, she honors him as a man whose humanity matched his cinematic achievements, a figure who shaped her understanding of success, kindness, and resilience in the world of entertainment. For audiences, Principal's recollections offer more than nostalgia. They illuminate the profound effect of mentorship, respect, and authenticity, reminding us that the people we encounter can leave a mark far beyond their public image. Paul Newman, through his actions, guidance, and integrity, left a legacy that continues to inspire, and Victoria Principal's reflections preserve that legacy for generations to come. Years after her initial experiences with Paul Newman, Victoria Principal reflects not just on his career, but on the lessons he imparted and the way his presence shaped her own journey. The man behind the legend was more than a co-star. He was a guide who demonstrated that talent, integrity, and humanity could coexist. Even in an industry dominated by ego and competition, Principal recalls that working with Newman taught her patience, resilience, and the importance of observation. He never forced advice upon anyone, yet his example spoke volumes. Watching him navigate complex scenes, respond to pressures on set, and maintain dignity in the face of challenges left a lasting impression. It was clear to her that success was measured not only by skill, but by the way one treated others and the values one upheld under scrutiny. Newman's influence extended beyond professional guidance. Principal describes moments when he provided personal insight, offering reassurance or perspective during stressful or uncertain times. These gestures, often subtle and understated, revealed a generosity of spirit that set him apart from many in Hollywood. For Principal, these interactions reinforced the belief that mentorship and compassion were as critical to success as talent or ambition. She also reflects on how Newman shaped her understanding of balance in life. Fame, she realized, could be intoxicating and isolating, but he demonstrated how to maintain authenticity, prioritize meaningful relationships, and approach challenges with grace. His consistency in character, both on and off-screen, served as a model for navigating not only Hollywood but life itself. Also explores Principal's own personal growth through these experiences. She learned to value collaboration, integrity, and the subtle power of kindness. The lessons she carried forward weren't just about acting, they were about confidence, humility, and resilience in the face of adversity. Newman's quiet example helped her develop the ability to assess situations thoughtfully, respond with composure, and maintain her principles amid pressure. Principal acknowledges that speaking about Newman now, at 75, carries a sense of responsibility. She wants to convey not only admiration for his talent, but also the depth of his humanity. The stories she shares aren't meant as anecdotes of celebrity gossip. They are reflections on how character and integrity can leave lasting impressions on those around us. Through her eyes, audiences can see a man whose legacy extends beyond cinema into the very people he influenced and inspired. Ultimately, emphasizes the enduring impact of mentorship, authenticity, and kindness. Paul Newman was more than a Hollywood icon. He was a teacher in the truest sense, offering guidance through both words and actions. For Victoria Principal, this mentorship shaped her career, her perspective, and her understanding of the kind of person she aspired to be. Professionally and personally, her reflections reveal that the greatest lessons often come not from formal instruction, but from observing and learning from those who embody excellence and integrity. Newman's presence demonstrated that true greatness is measured not by fame or accolades, but by the way one leaves a mark on others' lives. For Principal, the lessons she learned continue to resonate, offering insight, inspiration, and a template for navigating life with grace and authenticity. Even decades later, she carries these lessons forward, honoring Newman's influence in the choices she makes, the work she undertakes, and the way she treats others. In sharing these reflections, Principal ensures that audiences understand not only the brilliance of Paul Newman as an actor, but the enduring wisdom, compassion, and integrity he brought into the lives of those around him. As Victoria Principal reflects on her decades in Hollywood, she recognizes that the influence of Paul Newman extends far beyond their shared time on set. The lessons he imparted through guidance, example, and quiet mentorship have left a permanent imprint on her life. At 75, she speaks candidly about the ways Newman shaped not just her career, but her understanding of what it means to be a professional, a colleague, and a person of integrity in a world often overshadowed by ego and ambition. Principal emphasizes that Newman's impact was subtle yet profound. He never sought to dominate or instruct forcefully. Rather, he demonstrated through his actions how to navigate challenges with dignity, patience, and authenticity. She recalls instances where his calm presence diffused tension, his observations offered clarity, and his encouragement inspired confidence. These were lessons that formal training could not provide, an education in character as much as craft. Newman's generosity, Principal notes, extended to his approach to collaboration. He valued teamwork, respected others' contributions, and fostered an environment where creativity and professionalism thrived. For her, witnessing this firsthand reinforced the importance of integrity and empathy, showing that excellence in Hollywood was inseparable from human decency. Over time, Principal internalized these principles, shaping her own approach to work and life. She learned to balance ambition with humility, navigate fame with grace, and appreciate the impact one could have on others through mentorship and kindness. The lessons she received from Newman were not fleeting, they became guiding principles, influencing decisions, relationships, and her legacy. Also reflects on the lasting impression Newman left on Hollywood itself. While audiences admired his talent, few understood the depth of his character and the subtle ways he uplifted those around him. Principal's recollections offer a rare glimpse into the personal influence of a man who could inspire without overt recognition, proving that true greatness often resides in actions behind the spotlight. For Victoria Principal, sharing these memories is both a tribute and a reflection of gratitude. She honors Newman not only for his cinematic achievements, but for the way he embodied values that transcended fame: honesty, respect, compassion, and quiet leadership. In doing so, she preserves a legacy that is as much about humanity as it is about artistry. Her reflections also offer a broader lesson to audiences, that the people we meet and the mentors who guide us can shape our lives in profound ways. Newman's legacy demonstrates that influence is measured not only by accomplishments or accolades, but by the integrity and generosity one brings to others. For Principal, this truth remains central, shaping how she approaches her own life and the way she chooses to remember the individuals who shaped her journey. Ultimately, celebrates the enduring lessons Victoria Principal learned from Paul Newman. His presence provided guidance, inspiration, and a model of how to navigate Hollywood and life itself with authenticity and kindness. She conveys that his legacy is not confined to his performances on screen, but lives on in the people he touched, the careers he nurtured, and the values he exemplified. Even today, at 75, Principal carries these lessons with her, honoring the man behind the legend in every professional choice, every interaction, and every reflection on her life. Paul Newman, through his talent, mentorship, and humanity, left a mark that endures far beyond Hollywood. And through Principal's recollections, that legacy continues to inspire, reminding the world that true greatness is defined not only by fame or skill, but by the positive influence one leaves on others.